Hello and welcome to another Pauper video. I'm Kalikaiz. I'm here with Giorgio Combo, the myth, the man, the myth, the legend. Thank you, first of all, for joining us. And why don't you give an introduction to yourself? Maybe people don't know exactly what's going on with all your Pauper accolades.
Yeah, hi. I'm very glad to be here, and thank you for hosting me. I'm Giorgio Combo, Giorgio Venditti. I'm a poker player from Rome, Italy. Truth be told, I play basically every format, Eternal format. I am a long time legacy player. I usually play Storm, and I dived into Pauper like 6, 7 years ago, and in Italy it's very good. The scene is very good, so I stayed, and now I mostly play Pauper, but not just Pauper. Yeah, I started playing Magic when I was 7 years old in '97, and with my brothers, and of course I wasn't. I was just playing for fun, and during my whole life the game was with me, and I spent a lot of time playing Magic, and I started being competitive like 10-ish years ago. And that's basically the story of how uh,
How you got into
I
Magic?
reached here.
Thanks for watching. Did you know you could get sideboard guides on patreon.com/kalikaiz? And did I mention you can get early access to videos on the YouTube page in the membership section? And if you like these videos, make sure to like and subscribe.
Yeah.
But you've been playing Pauper for a long time, and you said in Italy for 7 years. Were you part of the original crew that was setting up all these Paupergeddons and stuff?
No, 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 no. I am not. I At the time I mostly played modern and extended. No, maybe extended was the format back then. I don't remember. And legacy. And I started hearing about this popper thing, and it was, oh yeah, there is this format. It just comes. Wow, cool. It seems very cool. And I always love to play off the wall formats. I love block party. I love pre-modern, old school, and this kind of formats, because I like to brew decks, so I like when there's a new format. And
Yeah.
I started playing a little bit of Pauper back in like 2014, something like that. I just played a tournament that I completely owned because I played Infect, and I was like, well, I guess in this format I can play Infect, since you can play Invigorate, and it was a pretty good deck. And I stopped playing Pauper altogether. And many years later, the local game store started running Pauper events in like 2017, maybe 2018, I don't remember. And I started picking up the format again, and the format had grown, and there were real decks, and there were the Paupergeddons. They were at maybe the second, third edition,
Oh wow.
and I started participating in the Paupergeddons because of that.
And then I think you won a Paupergeddon with Altertron. Is that correct?
No, it's not correct. I reached the final two times.
Oh,
Back in 2018, I reached the final and split. What's the past tense? Splat.
split is correct. Yeah.
Okay, I split the final with my opponent. I was playing tribe combo back then, and then I reached the final of Papageddon again with Ponza last year in Pisa.
Right. Yeah.
And with Altertron, which is a deck that I designed back in 2002, maybe, I reached the final, not Papageddon, but the Invitational, which is held the day before the Pisa Papageddon.
Oh, okay. Okay.
It's a tournament in which the Italian players with the, not just the Italian, the players with the most uh, high ranking in the
And the
in
points from all the leagues and the events and
yeah,
stuff.
yeah, and the points of from the leagues, you can qualify for the tournament. It's an invitational one, and it should be the best players. Of course, we know not every invitational as the best players, but it's how we like to think about it, and I lost in the final with Alter Tron. So I have a good tradition of losing or splitting the finals of big events in Pauper.
I mean, that's not the worst. I could take that for
No,
sure. The
no,
last
no.
two paper events or last two major events that I played in, one was the Upstate New York Pauper Open, and then I played a challenge. Both I came in ninth, so just
Okay.
snuck out of
Yeah,
top
yeah.
eight.
No. I'm not complaining. It's just funny because in the Golden Peaks, which is my testing team, we have a lot of lost finals at Paupergeddon,
That's
like 10 finals lost at Paupergeddon.
yeah.
Maybe not 10, maybe 6, 7. So it's very funny because we are very good at reaching the second place.
Maybe that's just like how you get on the team. You have to get the
Yeah,
second place in
yeah,
Paupergeddon.
yeah. It's a feature of the team.
So for this last Paupergeddon, you guys were working on this spy combo deck, which if
Yeah,
people are not familiar with, Balustrade Spy is a 3 and a black 2/3 flyer. When it enters, target player reveals cards from the top of their library until they reveal a land card and puts those cards into their graveyard. So traditionally, this deck has been called One Land Spy, where you search out your forest with land grant. Eventually, we got the dual lands for a black-green forest. And then, so land grant or the land cyclers like Generous End and Troll of Khazad-dûm. And then with one land in play, that means you have no lands in your deck and you can spy yourself to 0. And then previously, there was some convoluted loops with Conjurer's Bauble, Songs of the Damned, Mirror Retriever, all sorts of stuff. But now with Lotlet Giant having entered the format recently, semi-recently, you can just Dread Return the Lotlet Giant and dome your opponent for lethal. So a lot of people are trying to do this on turn 1, but you guys decided to do it on turn 4, turn 5, maybe better. So what was the genesis of you trying to work on this deck and going for this 5-land version?
Okay, before I start diving into the deck, let me just say something. I'm gonna start. I'm soon gonna start a YouTube channel because I like to make proper content. It will probably will be in Italian, and of course I will play a lot of Spy. So if someone is interested, can check that out. And I'm also writing a guide since many people ask me about this kind of deck, how to sideboard, how to keep, how to mulligan, and stuff like that. And I'm working on that just so that people which are interested can find.
Yeah, and
Okay,
if you want,
so
people hearing this later on, maybe you can check me out on Twitter or Blue Sky, and I'll try to post these links to those things as they come out.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you very much. So, the story of this deck is funny, I think, because there's a friend of mine whose name on MTGO is Il Fritto, which means the fried in Italian. And he loves all sort of strange, obscure combo decks. And since he is not a very good brewer, he always asks me about strange ideas. And in the last 2 years, he always asked me to refine the spy list. And sometime I did. At a certain point, I started thinking about the philosophy of the deck. And I go fishing the deck, the 1-land spy, 2-land spy list. I realized something. Even if you could, in theory, kill on turn 1, the reality was you always won on turn 4 or 5 because the deck was not consistent enough and you need time to assemble all the pieces. Of course, you can have the godly seven cards end, but that is very rare. So if I started thinking, if I should win on turn 4, 5 casting rituals, then why don't I just spend my first 3 turns searching for lands? Because if I do that, I don't need rituals anymore because lands are like mana, fast mana, okay? And I can play a real game of Magic. I can play tutors, I can play cantrips, I can find my sideboard cards, I can splash a color. I have a real deck. So I started to mess around with at least with 5 lands, 6 lands. And after some gold fishing, I realized that 5 lands was the sweet spot, because 5 lands means you can spend 4 mana for the spy and have 1 mana left to interact in some way, mostly with a duress or with Songs of the Damned or anything really.
Right. So you have
And
4 duress in the main deck. So the way, what I've seen is you're going like play land or land grant for a land, or use your Generous Ent or Troll of Khazad-dûm for a land to turn 1. Then turn 2, you're hoping the best case scenario play Sakura Tribe Elder because that ramps you.
Yeah.
But otherwise you play Gatecreeper Vine. You have Many Partings, which is search your library for a basic land, reveal it, put it in your hand, shuffle, create a food token, which comes up later. We'll describe why. Then you have Elven Farsight, which is scry 3. You can reveal the top card of your library. If it's a creature, draw a card. You don't have to. You can say reveal blind, so you can go bottom, 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 reveal, and just hope. And then you also have Malevolent Rumble, which is sort of ramp, but also gives you a creature for later on the Dread Return, because Dread Return has flashback for sacrifice 3 creatures. You have, and then the Many Partings food. So on your combo position, you have Cauldron Familiar, so you can bring it back for free with the food token. And then you have Dregscape Zombie, which can unearth for a black. So you're hoping like you have a Gatecreeper Vine in play. A lot of the times when I was trying it, I was playing like Balustrade Spy with Vines in play, unearth the zombie, win the game. Or you can like, if you have the free mana from Many Partings, then it can work too. And then you have 4 Conjurer's Baubles in the deck, which are sacrifice, put up to 1 target card from your graveyard onto the bottom of your library, and you draw a card. So if you have Songs of the Damned if you have Conjurer's Bauble in play, and you have a black mana open, you can spy yourself and then bauble, returning the Songs of the Damned. Says you have no library, you immediately draw it. So it's basically a tutor as well. And then your Songs of the Damning for, we have 28 creatures here, so it's like 20 something. And then with Songs of the Damned mana, then you can cast this one off, Crawl from the Cellar, which is return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand and put a +1/+1 counter on a zombie you control, and is flashback for 3 and a black. So even if this wasn't in your hand, it can go to the graveyard. You get back the mana from the Songs of the Damned. And then what's really crazy about this is, even if they counter your Dread Return on the first Lawless Giant, now you can Crawl from the Cellar the second Lawless Giant and just play it from hand. And then if they gained life and they don't have a counter, you have Dread Return on the Giant, and then you Crawl from the Cellar the other Giant and Giant again. So a lot of times the spy list was like pretty weak to weather the storm. This one is definitely good at beating that. And then you have Dissenter's Deliverance in the main deck here because it's Magic Online. It's a 1 green destroy target artifact and cycles for a green. But in paper, you have Rust, which is it just green, I think?
Yeah.
So it's a spell for just green, which says counter target activated or I don't know. It's like
activated ability from an artifact.
Activated ability from artifacts. So it counters Nile Spellbomb, Tormod's Crypt, and Relic. So if they only have one of those in play, then you win through that. So there's a lot of like taking the line there if need to be. But most of the time for me playing this, which I covered on my channel previously, it was just land, get another land, get another land. My opponent's doing things. I'll just casually be like, okay, you do your thing. And then on turn 4, you just spy win. Like, so it felt very relaxing to play the game. But then when you get to the position where you're trying to work around things, that's where the details come into play, I think. It's kind of funny.
So why we thought this deck is good in the first place?
Right.
Okay, so this is a 1-card combo. Basically, you just need to cast a spy, resolve a spy, and then all the magic happens from the graveyard, right? So of course, you need 2 creatures, do other creatures, but you can reanimate the zombie. You can have a spare creature. So you don't really need anything in particular. So it's like I just need a spy and some random creatures, which is basically just saying I need a spy. And this is very good because the deck can be really consistent, since I can fill the deck with cantrips, with tutors, and basically assume I will always have a spy by turn 4.
Right.
Basically, what the deck does. The deck is pretty fast because by the Pauper's standard, turn 4 or turn 5 should raise basically everything, right?
Yeah, I think turn 4, if you can kill turn 4, you're just expecting that if you're on the play, you win the game most of the time.
Yeah. It's basically it's impossible to be raised by another deck if you kill on turn 4. Plus, we have to notice that we have 4 duress main deck, so it's not just like a turn 4 deck. It's like it's a deck that will basically 190 plus per 95% plus of the times will kill you on turn 4 or 5, and sometimes it will even have a duress or some other form of interaction. And it's basically faster than everything you can reasonably do in Pauper. Of course, you can play strange decks like Infect and stuff like that, but those are not real competitors. This is I think a competitive deck, and is the fastest of the competitive decks.
Yeah.
And has some interaction. It's basically immune to everything your opponent could do, because barring the counter spells, but more on that later. You don't fear discard spells, because duress doesn't discard the creatures, and the deck is mostly creatures, and the spy is a creature. You yes, they can exile your graveyard, but unlike decks like Dredge, where if they exile 15 cards from the graveyards, the damage is already done. Here, the graveyard does nothing until a combo. So you have a relic out, I see that, okay, I don't combo out, I just play the game until I destroy it, and then I combo. And it did literally nothing.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot win if you have one on the board, but it does nothing if I destroy it and then I combo. While if you play Storm, for example, yes, you can destroy the relic, but they will exile like 8 cards, and that would be a pain, would be a problem.
Yeah.
They can have removal spells, but as you said, if I just have a Conjurer's Bubble or a Songs of the Damned, I will beat an infinite wall of removals and weather the storms. So if I have a Spy, if I have a Conjurer's Bubble, basically there's nothing you can do except for counters.
Yeah.
We should talk about Rust. Rust is in the deck because it's a stifle effect. So once I mill my old deck, if you have a relic out, I go for the Dread Return, you crack your relic, and in response to that, I crack my Conjurer's Bubble, get back my Rust from the graveyard, and use it to counter the activated ability of your relic. So having one in the deck is like having 5 main deck answers to Artifact 8.
Right.
The deck was very well positioned in the pre-ban metagame, because it was very, very favored versus Glee Combo.
Because of the duress and the snuff outs?
Yeah, and the snuff out, yeah. I kill on turn 4 or 5 basically every time. You don't have anything to interact with me except for maybe one last rites. I have 4 duress, 4 snuff out. I can transmute for snuff out with my Dimir Guard.
Oh, that's fancy.
And
I didn't see that. Nice.
Yeah. And I can kill you on turn 4 or 5 basically every time.
Yeah.
Glee Combo didn't kill you on turn 4 or 5 every time.
I don't know, man. But every single time my opponent just went brute skill, kill you. 100% of the time. 60% of the time, they have it every time. That's how I felt.
Yeah. It's definitely how it felt. But truth is,
yes, it can be slow. And if you have a couple of interactive spells, it really put them down. But we were talking about this being a turn 4, turn 5 deck. How did you feel versus specifically Kuldotha? Because that's a turn 3, turn 4 deck. It was.
Turn 3, not really turn 3. I also have a lot of creatures to block and gain some time. Right. Yeah, that was a hard match, because basically the die roll was very, very important. You
Mm-hmm.
can see in the sideboard that we have a Healer of the Glade, which usually was pretty good at giving us one turn to kill them.
Right.
That was like, we considered that to be a 50-50 matchup.
Okay.
The real problem was the blue decks, Fae in particular. We tested this deck in secret because this was an idea that I came up with like 2-3 weeks before the Gathon.
Okay.
And I started playing on Magic Online and dropping on 4-0s. And some teammates started trying the deck.
Yeah. EHDM.
HDM, yeah, started playing the deck, and we started doing a whole lot of Oro drop. In that metagame, we felt that blue decks weren't that popular, so it felt like a good choice for the tournament. I didn't attend to Popogeddon because family business,
Okay.
and 3 other people went with this list, and they didn't go well. But we think it was just because of bad variance.
Right. I know
Uh,
that
but
Sodak has been doing well. He topped a couple of challenges and also made like top 4 in this Polish national. So
yeah,
certainly
yeah, yeah,
has the power level here.
yeah. I'm winning a lot with it in Magic Online leagues. I can't attend challenges because of family business again, but I think the deck is very good. This list is outdated. No, it's not the list I am playing right now.
Yeah.
And
So let's talk
the
about
the
the tech piece here before we move on
yeah,
to the other list. So
yeah.
it is Jack-o'-lantern and
Hmm.
Dispel. Jack-o'-lantern
Yeah.
is pretty cool because after you flip your deck, it's going to be in your graveyard, and then you can use 1 mana to make a mana of any color and cast Dispel. Um,
Yeah. Basically, this spell is like Rust, but for Trap and Charm.
okay, okay. That makes sense. And then you have a 6th land here.
Yeah,
Is the plan sometimes to just have 6 lands so that you can start casting your Ensign Trolls?
yeah,
Or
of course, 100%. I added the 6th land to the board to edge versus the Walker Wildfire deck, which
oh,
was very popular
right, yeah,
because people started going after my lands. So I figured out that just playing a 6th land completely wrecked that plan,
right.
because then your Wildfire does nothing. It actually helped me if you if you cast it on my land.
Yeah.
But then AHDM realized that our casting creatures was very good versus the blue decks because, funnily enough, Ubi Fate can not really beat a Balustrade Spy or a Dimir Ausguard. And
Really?
they have
Just in play?
yeah, because they cannot snuff. If you play Fae, you don't know this deck because this deck has been kept secret. You probably side out all your removals. Maybe you leave some snuff house in. And game 2, I cast a spy on turn 4. All of a sudden, you cannot attack with any of your creatures.
Right.
It blocks your flyers, it blocks your ninjas, and you cannot snuff it out. And basically, you have to the Gurma Ganglers, and that's it. But Dimir Guard cannot be blocked, cannot be killed because it regenerates.
Oh yeah.
He has fear.
It has fear.
Yeah, and then I start playing my trolls, and you start using your counters on creatures, and eventually I combo out.
Hmm.
This plan is good. We didn't go into the details because we didn't have enough time, and we just kind of abandoned the mono blue Fey matchup. But now, after the Gathon, we had time, so we developed this concept a little bit. So
Okay.
yeah, the
So we
six land is
have
absolutely good versus some decks to our cast creatures. Yeah.
so the original updated list I had is this one that you trophied with after the bans. So we can maybe look at the sideboard. Now you have Sagu Wilding in the main deck, which is a new
Yeah.
creature from Dragons of Tarkir. It's a 4 and a green for a 3/3 flyer. ETB gain 3 life, and you can omen it for a green. search your library for a basic, put it in your hand, and then shuffle. And the crazy thing about these omens is they just go back into the deck, which means that you have a land tutor that also still is going to count for your Lawlet Giant, which is pretty cool. And then in the sideboard, so one thing that changed was 3 Duress, 3 Masked Vandal in the main deck. Just, I guess, as a main deck way to deal with those artifact lands and or the main deck Nile spell bombs, potentially.
Yeah. And
then the sideboard is pretty cool. So we've got an island as the land, which you can only get from your land tutors, worth noting.
Yeah.
But then we have Vision Charm and Early Frost. So this is post-ban. So Vision Charm is choose one. Target player mills 4, choose a land type and a basic land type, and each land of the first type becomes the second type until end of turn, or phase out an artifact. So it can work versus Relic, but the crazy thing is you can just Vision Charm them in response to a high tide, turning all their lands into mountains, and then they can't win the game. And then you also have Early Frost, which is 1 and a blue for tap up to 3 target lands as an instant, which is kind of a mini Giga Drowse. And since you don't have all 100% blue, this certainly makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So the thing with the Vandals is, first of all, Rust is not a magical line, so we cannot play that on magical line.
Right.
But even if we could, we started realizing that having a Rust as the only way to beat a game 1 relic of Progenitus or Spellbomb or stuff like that was not enough, because with 5 lands, then all your mana is taken by the Spy and the Rust. Yeah, but decks that plays Grave 8 main deck also has a lot of removal spells. So they are usually decks versus which you need the Bubble into Song play.
Okay.
And you cannot do that if you have just 5 lands. So I started moving the Rust to the sideboard. You cannot see the Rust in the sideboard because, again, it's not a magical line, but I 100% play it in the sideboard if I play in paper.
And we should note that they can't get it on Magic Online due to artistic copyrights, so they're not allowed to have it.
Yeah, I think we will never get that card online, sadly. So we needed some way to not just straight up lose to Spellbomb main deck.
Right.
Because Affinity plays that, Walker, John plays that, so Vandal is good because the deck can afford 6 interaction spells, because the deck is so compact that you have slot to spares. So 3 Duress and 3 Vandals, and the Vandals is fine because if you play against Mono Red, you can destroy one of their many artifacts and block. It's a creature to sacrifice to feed the Dread Return. It's good versus Fae because it's blocking the ninjas and exiles the little ninja, which is an enchantment.
Yeah.
It's fine versus Ponza because you can slow them down. It's fine versus a lot of stuff. It's not relevant. It's just a 1/3 vanilla that you can use to block or attack, or basically it's a creature and you have Dread Return, so it's fine.
So let's go to the current deck list. Did you have one more thing on that updated one?
Yeah. When it comes to the sideboard of the last, I started realizing that Duress was not enough versus the blue decks, because usually when you are in a situation where you can combo, they usually have more counters in hand. So you Duress, you see a hand of 3 counters, you pick one, and then you cannot combo.
Right.
So I started searching for, I need to tap their mana. So Vision Charm does that. You have 2 islands, 3 counter spells in hand. Okay, I cast my Vision Charm, and if it resolves, or all the islands are now mountains, and you cannot cast your counters. Of course, you can counter the Vision Charm, but then you don't have mana open. And this concept proved to be very strong, because it's basically a Veil of Summer. You have 2 counter, and you need to spend more mana.
Right.
And and this card is also good because those decks typically have also have Grave 8, and I can phase that out end of turn and then combo on my turn if need be. And to make that even better, I put Early Frost in the deck because people started to keep 4 mana up against me.
Right.
So since I don't have 2 islands in my deck, I cannot cast 2 Vision Charm in the same turn. So I figured out that I need to start the counter war in the opponent's turn. So at the end of your turn, I cast Early Frost, you counter it, okay. On my turn, I cast another Early Frost or a Vision Charm, you counter it, you don't have mana open because you cannot play all the game with 5-6 mana open, and then I kill you.
So
this
is that
concept is good.
swapping in directly for like the rest of the Vandals? It's like a 6-card swap.
No. The side versus those decks is I with this list I sided out the Duresses, the Bubbles, the Songs, the Crow from the Cellar, and the Malevolent Rumbles.
Yeah.
For the blue card, the island.
You can tell that this is a complicated deck and that you built it because I would just be like, I don't have any clue what to side out, and I would never have taken out the Conjurer's Bauble, but it makes sense if you take these, then you take the Bauble out, because now you have that package.
Bubble is only good once you resolve the spy, but they don't never let you resolve the spy, because if they are savvy, they know that you probably have a plan. So it just cycles.
Nice.
And that's why I have a second Dread Return in the sideboard, and the Trolls, because the Trolls I can cast, and because they sometimes started to counter my Land Searchers, because once I go to the combo turn, they cannot beat the Early Frost Vision Charm. So when they realized that, they started countering my fetch lands. So I added 2 more fetch lands, which happens to be good top decks because I can cast and they have a hard time beating a Troll sometimes.
That's fun.
But I have a better list, I think, which is the current one. So
we're
if
off
you
to the
want,
current list.
Yeah.
Going to just have to manipulate everything, how everything looks here, so people can see it that are on YouTube. Let's see. Yeah. So over on the side, so the things are, we still have 5 lands, 3 forest, 2 swamp. Forest is more important for casting your cantrips, but you need 2 swamps because one of them is going to be used for the spy, and the other one is for potentially using the Songs of the Damned or duress.
Also because Dimir Guard transmute for 2 black mana. 2 black mana.
Right.
2 black mana.
Yeah, so you can transmute Dimir Houseguard on turn 3.
Yeah.
We've got 2 Rumble, 2 Vine. I saw one player playing a card that was like 2 mana, and then you can sacrifice a green creature for 2 mana, and you can sacrifice it for green to put a land onto the battlefield. So it's sort of like a more expensive Sakura Tribe Elder.
Yeah.
And then, but it's not in this list. Just 6 land cyclers, and then the sideboard is quite a bit different. We've got an island, 3 Dispel. Here is Stifle, but that's the Rust. We have
it's
2 Snuff Out, 2 Trolls, and then 2 Natural State. Would you play Natural State if you had Rust?
Yeah, of course.
Because you only need the 1 Rust.
If you count the Stifle as a Rust, this is the 75 that I would leave up for a tournament today.
Okay.
1 Rust in the sideboard in place of the Stifle, and the rest is what you see.
And I'll put a link to this on in the description. So this has Dispel, no Vision Charm, and no Early Frost. Can we talk about like how you constructed the sideboard here? Because I think that the main deck is pretty much the same. You can,
it is.
And then what was your experience with the Wildling? Has that just been, have you ever cast as a 3/3? Like, is this just a strict upgrade? Like, how do you feel about it?
It's a very good card. Is an upgrade, but it's not a strict upgrade, and that's why I have the Trolls in the sideboard. So the Trolls can be a liability because you have just 2 swamps and 4 Trolls, and of course you can run out of swamps and draw Trolls, and maybe you need a forest and you are stuck. But the Sagu is better because it searches for every land, and in the side post-board games is even better because he can also find the island.
Right.
And it's easier to cast game 1 because you just have 5 lands. So it's definitely better in the main deck.
Okay.
But when you want to implement the beatdown plan, it's worse than a troll, because post sideboard you have 6 lands, and the troll is usually better at beating people down
Yeah.
because it's bigger, it's black, it's a troll basically. Trolls are better than dragons, it turns out.
Love it.
And okay, so uh,
So the main changes are fewer snuff outs because Glee doesn't exist. Although you might still need to kill a creature, I guess. And then you
yeah,
have what are
yeah,
you thinking that you want to use snuff out on right now?
okay. So Snuff out is for combo decks like elves,
Okay, yeah.
um, wolves, and stuff like that. I would like to have 4 snuff outs, but I needed some slots more versus blue decks because a plan that I'll describe later.
Okay.
So Pilfer does double duty because it's kind of fine versus wolves, elves. You can discard an elf, you can discard a wall. It's not the best, but it's not the worst. And it's also fine versus blue decks because it's a duress. And so in place of 4 snuff outs, here you have 2 snuff outs and 2 pilfers.
Okay.
You can guess that I side pilfer in versus blue decks because it's not a mesmeric fiend. If it just were for elves and wolves, then I would play the mesmeric fiend, which is a creature and it's better because you can find easier.
Right.
But I need to play that versus blue-black decks, so I need to not be killed.
Mm-hmm.
Why the dispels? Well, I found that the island plus dispel, it's a very, very good plan to beat the Boros and Mardu decks that are rising, because they are very hard if you don't have island and dispel and rust, and they are very easy if you do, because they are slow. They can not really raise you, but post board they happen to have like 3 relics and 3 Charms, and if my opponent has 3 grave 8s, I need like 7 8 answers. But
Yeah.
obviously I cannot play 8 versus charm and 8 versus relic. So if I have just 3 duress and 3 musket bundles, and I have 1 rust and 1 dispel, remember that I can pick them up with bubbles, then I have 8 and 8, right?
Ah.
Because dispel counts for 5 and rust counts for 5. And the island is important to do that. The 6th land is an island for me to do that. And dispel is also good versus counters, of course. And I died, and it's worse than Vision Charm versus the counter decks, but it's better versus combo decks.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah, but the idea is I don't want a combo versus the fair blue decks anymore. I want to beat them down. So I don't need to have Frost and Vision Charm. I just need Dispel to counter their counters, or maybe their Snuff House. And then I just want to kill them with Trolls. And that's why you see the 2 more Trolls in the sideboard.
Okay. Yeah.
And the Pilfers come in and the Duress stays in, because now I don't want a combo, so I Duress, I keep your counters, and then you can keep your Spell Pierces and Dispels, and okay, it's fine because I'm gonna cast a Troll and those cards are gonna do nothing.
Nice.
So the Duresses are good again in this plan.
Okay. That makes sense.
And basically that's it. And of course you have Musket Vandal and Natural State, because versus Affinity or decks like that, you side out the 3 Duress and put in 3 more artifact removal, of course.
Okay. So 2 things that are missing from this list that I know that you tested and discarded are Lotus Petal and Exhume. So I think that we can understand why you're not playing Lotus Petal, because you don't really need it for the plan that you've already got, and especially that you're very consistent on turn 4, turn 5 already. Like putting that to turn 3, turn 4 at the cost of consistency, maybe not the greatest. Is that why you've discarded that one?
Partially. It's because in reality it does nothing, because it has two. It covers two roles. It should cover two roles. First of all, it should make you mulligan less. That's true, because sometimes you can keep a hand with a Lotus Petal and two Land Cyclers that you would mulligan otherwise. But that hand, it's already a mulligan because you have a Lotus Petal, which is a -1. So that keep, it's only useful if you happen to mulligan the next hand too. Because if you go to 6 and keep a 6 hand, it's the same. Or it's actually better because you can bottom a giant or a dread return that you happen to have in your hand. So it's not that common that Lotus Petal is. It's not that true that Lotus Petal makes you mulligan less, if you think about it.
That makes
and it can
sense.
accelerate you, but for it to accelerate you, you need to have, for this acceleration to be meaningful, you need to have five lands. Because if you still have lands in your deck, yes, you can cast the spy, but what for? You have a land in your deck, you won't win.
Right.
So you need to have 5 lands. You need to have the spy, and you need to have the need for another mana. But what's the chances that you have the 5 lands and you need a Lotus Petal to accelerate? Since the spy costs 4, if you have 5 lands, you probably can cast the spy with the lands. So what is the Lotus Petal doing? Basically nothing. Of course, there are some strange situations in which you have the lands, but you don't have 4 lands in play. You have just 3 in play and 2 in hands, and maybe you can pedal and win, but it's very, very rare. So I like to play more interaction spells instead of Lotus Petal, which happen to be useful like one in 20 games.
So that makes me question, would it make sense to play 4 Malevolent Rumble and 2 Elven Farsight? Because Malevolent Rumble gives you that very minor but relevant boost in mana, or is the one mana that much more important for the Elven Farsight?
Oh, the cards are comparable. In this deck they are both equally good, I think. Malevolent Rumble is one of the best cards in the format and easily one of the best cards in Modern Horizon 3. But in this deck, Elven Farsight is comparable. The problems happen to be in the post-board games, because guess what happened if my opponent has a relic and I need to dig for my artifact removal, and I cast my Rumble and I happen to mill my Dread Return or stuff like that. Also, Elven Farsight can take Duress and Natural State and Dispels, cards that are good post-sideboard.
Okay.
So if Magic was a best of one game, we could probably play 4 Malevolent Rumble and 2 Farsight, or 3 or whatever. But since we have to play 2/3 of our games in a post-board world, then it's
that makes a lot of sense. So
yeah.
it can make the deck worse against the hate cards if you go harder on the Rumble. And it's still just not worth that little boost in mana, but you still have 10 like cantripy ways to look through your deck with those. Or I guess 6, because Elven Farsight is looking, whereas Partings is just pulling a land out.
Yeah. It's 6 cantrips. Sorry, I have to go away for just a second, okay?
All right. And we're back?
Yeah, sorry. And let's talk about Exhume.
Right. Exhume, the idea being you can just cycle a troll and then exhume it, and then you're golden. But that's sort of like a scam plan, and maybe not that great.
Of course we tried. But if you think about it, this deck cannot really play a fair game plan unless you sideboard for that, okay?
Okay.
If
so
you don't sideboard
exhume your creature, and you can't really necessarily ride that to victory.
No, because no deck in Pauper nowadays dies to a turn 2 troll if you don't do anything more than that.
Okay.
That's no deck that dies to that. Affinity don't dies to that, and I don't know, Tron don't dies to that, and doesn't die to that, and there is no deck that
Hmm.
that dies to that.
Okay. Easy enough. The scam plan, not that good. That's what it comes down
No.
to.
But that's something more. A last thing I want to say about this deck. There is a new version people are starting to experiment with in the familiar Discord, and Walker is also trying the deck.
Oh.
It's a six land deck.
Big innovation, big innovation.
Yeah. With a mountain, as the sixth land, with Chrysalis, with a real mid-range plan with Lead the Stampede
Oh.
and stuff like that. And that deck doesn't play the Conjurer's Bubbles, doesn't play the Dimira's Guard. It just has 4 spies. Because if you could think about it, it's really compact, right? You just need 4 Balustrade Spy, 1 Dread Return, 2 Lotless Giants, and
Sounds like
1
you guys
Dread
just created Splinter Twin in Pauper. It's a fair game, but it can randomly kill you. I love it.
Yeah.
Are you
Yeah,
playing
I'm
removal
not
spells and
responsible
stuff? Like, I want to see this.
Yeah, it's very good. I'm not responsible for that. If you think about it, the spy kill is just 8 cards. 4 spy and 4 Narcomoebas, Pauper Narcomoebas, we can call it, right? The Dread Return, the Lotless Giant. Then you have to play 5, 6 lands, and it's basically the same as a normal deck. Instead of playing 24 lands, you play 24 lands and fetch
Right.
land
Land
tutors.
cyclers, tutors.
Yeah, it's the same.
See if we have
right?
24 of those.
Once you have the first land, they are the same. You can have you can put everything in you like in the deck.
Yeah. There are 29 ways to get lands in this deck.
Yeah. The mid-range one has one more because they have a 6th land. But basically is half the deck is lands, which is what happens if you play Jund. You have 20 lands, and for Wildfires, they are 24 lands, basically.
Yeah.
This deck has 29, but 8, 10 are castable because are cyclers, so it's basically the same, right?
Nice. Yeah. That's pretty cool. I like it. One of my favorite things to do in Pauper is try to make new things work, and it's really awesome to see that not only did you do that, but that you're still doing it. So that's really cool.
Yeah, there's a lot to be explored in this behind this idea. I think playing spy. My original idea was to play spy in a 5 or more lands environment.
Right.
That's the great new idea. Once you have that technology, there are many ways to be explored.
For sure. So I guess we're gonna start wrapping it up. We're reaching the hour mark. Before we get out of here, 2 things I want to talk about. Well, one is, what is your favorite card of all time? And if it's not a Pauper card, you can have 2. One favorite all time and favorite Pauper card.
Well, Shivan Dragon.
Yeah.
No, maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe it's Dark Ritual. It's Dark Ritual.
Dark Ritual. Nice. Yeah. How did you feel about playing? Like, how many times have you cast Dark Ritual in Pauper? Is it just when you were playing like Cycle Storm and the Chatterstorm style decks, or were you around for previous Storm decks?
Well, mostly Storm decks.
Yeah. But I mean, Dark Ritual is a mainstay in Legacy Storm and other formats for sure.
Yeah. I've probably cast more than 1,000 Dark Rituals in my whole life.
Nice. So I guess, do you have anything else to plug or like bring up with regards to the Spy deck, or anything you're looking forward to in Pauper lately?
No, I just wanna say thank you to the people who helped me brew this deck. First of all, the Golden Peaks team, which is a great team. We have a blast playing together and talking, chatting. It's mostly about fun and a little bit about being competitive, which is which I like. And I, in particular, AHDM did a lot of work on this deck, and Walker did a little bit, and Il Fritto, Mattiazzoli, people from Italy that helped me develop this concept.
Awesome. So, well, thank you very much for joining me for this video. I hope other people liked it. I know there was a lot of confusion about how to play this deck, and it sounds like there will be a lot of demand for the upcoming guide, which you'll probably be able to get a link to via my social media, or Giorgio Combo is also at the same handle, I believe, on Magic Online and Twitter, and also on Discord.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. It was a blast being here, and I like chatting. I like chatting with you about Magic, about Pauper, about the decks. So it has been very cool. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and we'll see everybody in the next one.